bankrupt, Harry continued to expose his assets to disastrous lawsuits with painful results. Harry recently experienced a 10% reduction in his legal fees during his Supreme Court case. Along with the risk of being downgraded in royal status, it's baffling that he continues to spend so much money on extending his legal battle. Welcome back to the Royal News 365 channel. Before we dive into the information I'm about to share, I want to check in with all of you. How are you feeling today? The changing weather can bring about various illnesses, and I've been dealing with the flu for several days. Nevertheless, my commitment to sharing engaging stories with my valued audience remains strong. Let's jump right in. To begin, let's recap this legal case. Harry, the Duke of Sussex, sued the Home Office over the decision to change his level of protection when he returned to the UK after stepping down from his royal duties in February 2020. In February, he lost the lawsuit when Supreme Court Justice Peter Lane ruled that the decision to revise his security was lawful, rational, and procedurally fair. Harry received a 10% discount on legal fees because the Home Office was found to have broken the rules. However, in my opinion, a 10% discount on hundreds of thousands of dollars isn't a significant amount. Harry will still need to pay the remaining balance out of his own pocket, making it an expensive undertaking. Nonetheless, it might be worth the effort considering the millions he will need to spend on his future security. Harry's 10% discount was not a reward for loyalty but rather a consequence of being downgraded from the royal group to the VIP level 3 group. This demotion could be a painful blow for Harry. If you visit the royal website, you'll notice that both Meghan and Harry have been moved to the bottom of the page alongside Andrew. Their bios have been reduced to brief sentences, highlighting their decline in prominence. Harry's case has been dismissed, and his demotion from Tier 1 to Tier 3 VIPs is now public. Interestingly, a few weeks ago, Harry was listed alongside Andrew on the royal website, but now he is positioned right next to him. This court ruling aligns with the recent updates to the royal family website. Harry is no longer referred to by the title His Royal Highness and is now simply known as the Duke of Sussex. Consider this. The Dukedom of Sussex is typically reserved for a member of the royal family who holds the title His Royal Highness. With Harry no longer holding that status, his title as Duke of Sussex and that of his wife, the Duchess, should be stripped since they are no longer considered worthy of those titles as non-royals. Perhaps the royal family is moving at a slow pace, and Congress has introduced a bill to strip them of their titles. Another prisoner made the good point that it has been almost 5 years since he was returned, so Parliament could make an argument that Harry had not performed royal family duties or lived in England for 5 years. But I think the royal family's estrangement until now for Harry is too late, because the king was too lenient with Harry when he subsidized this bastard for more than 3 decades, although he no longer serves royal duties. And whether he wants to accept it or not, taxpayers shouldn't have to pay for his perks. Now, his papa's bank will probably close indefinitely. A father should not feel obliged to support a son who quit his job and left the family in a way that should have been considered total betrayal and abandonment. Harry needs to know that he may be the king's son, but no parent should be obliged to pay for a 40-year-old child. God, you have no idea how shocked I was that he could complain on Netflix that the king had cut off his allowance. Do you really think people will sympathize with a man in his late 40s who is expecting to receive a pension from his father? From the budget cuts I just shared, let's now link to his lawsuit. I think the Supreme Court should no longer give him a percentage discount on his legal fees. He should pay for those expenses himself. Isn't his lovely wife Meghan releasing a lot of projects? He should stick to his wife so he can have money to pay for those legal fees, but I think it will be difficult to get her money. Comparing a bit on our side, if I or any other ordinary citizen asked for a discount in a legal case against the government, the legal system would ask me to cram and increase the fine or fee. And that's so unfair. This rich polo-playing idiot wants taxpayers to pay his legal bills to try to get us to pay for his security while visiting the country that gave him great wealth and status, but where he no longer lives and for whom he no longer works. That leads to Harry's massive sense of entitlement. He thinks he's entitled to round-the-clock police protection, even though he is no longer a working royal. He thinks he's entitled to be nominated for and win a Grammy, even though other people put out better products. Too bad he didn't give up that sense of entitlement when he gave up the rest of his life. He might have actually been successful as just Harry if he wasn't such an entitled, off-putting, wrinkled, stinky asshole married to a racist hoe who hates black people. Next is a problem that Harry will have to face. In addition to being demoted to VIP status and removed from the royal family, Harry will have to face taking his case directly to the Court of Appeal. A Home Office spokesman said, "While we are pleased with the court's decision to refuse permission to appeal, it would be inappropriate to comment further on the legal proceedings. He can try to take his appeal directly to the Court of Appeal, but he must show that the High Court judge erred in a piece of legislation or legal precedent, and that error, if applied correctly, would sway the ruling in Harry's favor. One cannot simply appeal because they do not like or agree with the ruling. In my opinion, the error by the Royal and VIP Executive Committee in not telling Henry that he was demoted to VIP status from royal status does not affect the decision or indicate an error of law because the judge ruled that he was still entitled to protection, but it was bespoke, meaning adapted to current threat levels. VIP status does not affect the overall protection he receives. No court of appeal should accept this appeal simply because it is Harry, and if they do, it will significantly alter the public's perception of justice, wealth access an ordinary individual would not receive. But he still can go to the Court of Appeal, but there will come a point where his lawyers are going to have to tell him he is pissing his money up against the wall to stop themselves from being guilty of giving him negligent advice. He can ignore it, of course, that is his prerogative, but he will need to be told it in no uncertain terms. So there would now need to be a separate application to the Court of Appeal for permission from that court to appeal, and he needs to win that, which is a very tall order given he has been refused leave by the High Court, and given that the ruling in the High Court was extremely thorough and was rigorously examined. Then, if he was successful in that application and was given permission to appeal, he needs to proceed with the appeal itself, which would be heard before a panel of 3 Court of Appeal judges. That is a whole separate process and an extremely costly one, too. He could be faffing around with this case for the rest of this year and into next at this rate if he refuses to accept that he's lost. And finally, Harry must always remember that the court cannot restore his security. All they can do is say that the Royal and VIP Executive Committee did not comply with the law when making the decision. The Royal and VIP Executive Committee can then make similar decisions using the new guidelines. So even if Harry gets an appeal and wins the appeal, that doesn't mean he gets a guarantee. The Royal and VIP executives could make the same decision, and this could start all over again. Now, let's discuss a possible solution for Harry. Perhaps he should consider returning to his father and offering an apology, seeking his guidance and support. The best path forward for him is to show respect and avoid creating any further disturbances. At 40 years old, Harry is beyond the age of rebellion, and it would be wise for him and his wife to rejoin the British royal family and seek assistance as their last chance for reconciliation. It's unlikely that a father would turn away a child who returns acknowledging their mistakes. In conclusion, I hope the information I've shared with you has been helpful. I appreciate your thoughts and feedback as they enhance our discussions and provide valuable perspectives on various topics. Thank you for watching this far. Until next time, goodbye and see you in new videos from the Royal News 365 YouTube channel.